Good morning, good-looking people, and you're good-looking because you're always looking, and of course, you are finding the good in everything and in everybody. Hope you're having a great week, a successful week, a healthy week. Today is the 15th of Shevat. It is Tu B'Shvat, so I hope you're enjoying Tu B'Shvat. Make sure to have some of the 7 grains of Israel. It's a special day. As we mentioned yesterday, there was no Tachnun for today, so we had no Tachnun at yesterday Mincha. And then today, there is no Tachnun as well. Today we are talking about Likutei Torah. This is the second set of volumes that we mentioned on the 3rd of Shevat that Tzemach Tzedek eventually published of the Maimarim of the Alter Rebbe. So the first set was known as the Torah Or, and we talked about what was written in the Torah Or, and that what was going to be written in the second volume, which was known as Likutei Torah, and it was published 11 years later. So now we're reflecting on Likutei Torah. So today's Hayom Yom, we'll read it inside. I will give you some notes as we go along. I will give you a little bit of feedback as well on how it connects to the Parsha of the day as well. And then we'll finish with a small story of the Tzemach Tzedek and the Rebbe Maharash when he was 14 years old. Okay. So for the Hayom Yom, for the 15th of Shevat, Tachnun is not recited today. By the time the task of printing the second part of Torah Or was undertaken, the Hasidim had already found out what the Tzemach Tzedek had written glosses and explanations to the Maimarim. So now we're in the year 1848. They pleaded to print them together with the Maimarim, but he refused. The Tzemach Tzedek then had a dream with his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe came to him and visited him in his dream, and he said that he should publish them. However, he concealed the matter until 3 of his sons had the same dream, and they related it to his father. Only then did he agree to append his glosses and the commentary to the second part of the Torah, which is entitled the Likutei Torah. All right, let's go through some information here. 1848 is when the Likutei Torah was published. And why it's related to this week and why it's being brought up today is that we're in Parshas Beshalach. Likutei Torah actually starts from Beshalach. Being that that's where the volume starts, we're in the Parsha of Beshalach, it's also being brought up today. Now, there's also a play on the words Likutei. Likutei means to gather. Okay, and today's Chumash, we're talking about the man, and in the Parsha this week we're also talking about the man, and it uses the word liktu, that when the Yidden were in the desert, they had to go gather the man every morning, and on Friday they had a double portion. It uses the word liktu, which means to gather, and what we're reading today is the Likutei Sichos, so being again a play on the words. That's also why it's being referenced today. Let's go further. Now, today is Tu B'Shvat. And Tu B'Shvat is a special day because we're talking about all the grains of Israel and the produce of Israel. And one of the beautiful blessings of Israel is their wine connected to grapes. It mentions that Likutei Torah is the Tairas HaChasidus. It is the wine of Chasidus. That's how it's referred to, the wine of Chasidus. Being it's Tu B'Shvat, being that we're talking about grapes and the wine of Israel today, also being that Likutei Torah, I said Likutei Sichos before, my apologies. Likutei Torah is also labeled as the wine of Chasidus, another connection to today. Now, let's go a little bit more. It says in 1848, when the Likutei Torah was being published, the Tzemach Tzedek labeled the year a Kates, called the year of Kates, which means the year of end, that potentially this year could be the year that Mashiach comes because of what was going on. So after the year had passed, the Rebbe Maharash, who was then 14 years old, went to the Tzemach Tzedek and said, "Where's Mashiach? It was supposed to be the year of Kates." And the Tzemach Tzedek looked at the Rebbe Maharash and said, I know Mashiach hasn't come, but look what we got. We got the well springs of Chassidus. We got the Likutei Torah, and this was a very big piece to the world in order to get us closer to Mashiach. This is huge. The Rebbe Marash at 14 years old was not happy with the answer, and he said, we need Mashiach now, here, today. And even though we got the Likutei Sichos, he was not happy that Mashiach had not come yet. So going back to what we talked about on the 3rd of Shevat, and going to today, being its Tu B'Shvat, the Likutei Torah is the wine of Torah. We mentioned that on that same day, on the 3rd of Shevat, that we need to learn both Torah or and Likutei Torah, because they are just as important as we learn Chumash and Rashi and Maver Sedra and doing Shnei Mikra and Shabbos, that these are the wine. These are very important. These are very important Maimarim and Chassidus to learn, that it should be just as important to us as we do everything else. So that is the message of the day. The message is to be more involved, to be inspired to learn more, and when you're learning Torah or specifically also Likutei Torah, know you are drinking the wine, the fine wine of Chassidus. Have a great day. Enjoy Tu B'Shvat. We'll talk more tomorrow.